Hi, folks. This is Mountain Man coming to you from parts unknown. I've had a terrible time trying to get up on, but I am broadcasting. A difficult time even logging into StreamYard. Perhaps they don't want me anymore. I don't know. But anyway, some serious technical issues, and this was the way I was able to go live because stuff isn't uploading or being connected. So please let me know if you hear my voice coming through nice and clear. I certainly hope so. And yeah, I don't know. I don't know what's going on. I don't know. I got a email account that has apparently been nuked and no longer recognized. I don't know what's going on there, but that's okay. That's okay. We got a lot to talk about as we go into the weekend, and I hope you all have prepared for this terrible storm that's coming. And more storms than one. The Mother Nature storm and the political storm that is gathering strength and getting ready to roll across the nation. So will MAGA pay a price? They certainly want us to, don't they? Hi, Sissy. Nice to see you. Randy, Lucky, Todd, Linda. Aha. I hope my stream is steady for you all. Rubber Toe, nice to see you. Todd, thank you, Todd, for going by Buy Me a Coffee. I do appreciate it. Along with Colette. I do appreciate it so much. And I have to give a special shout out to Younger Gang because I miss them when they put a donation in. And I had to mention it last night. So I'm mentioning it again. Miss Mendersue is here. Rain is here. Nice to see you. Hi, Wayne. How you doing? Nice to see you also. Yeah, I'm back down at the creek. Do y'all remember when I did this? I can't even get this little fellow to adjust in size, and the mouth's not working. The mouth is supposed to open and close while I talk. But anyway, I was just glad to get up because, like I said, my StreamYard account isn't recognized for some reason, and this platform is very hinky. Very hinky. But anyway, folks, not a lot was reported on the March for Life today. Of course, it was brutally cold, but I'm sure there were a lot. I saw Jack Posobiec. Oh, all right, Todd. Thank you. I saw Jack Posobiec talking about going to March for Life and had his prayer cards ready. And he said, you better have prayer cards, rosaries, whatever you need. Because our battle is not with flesh and blood, as you all know. What are you all's thoughts about this storm? I remember. When do you all remember something like this storm? For the folks in chats, when do you all remember something like this? The closest you can remember ever having experienced a storm like the one we're experiencing now. Gonna experience. That's right. Awaken Trillium. Debbie, nice. Aha, she hit the date. She hit the date that I was going to say, 1978. 1978. Texas a few years back. Well, that was a freak. And this one seemed to be originating from Texas. But Randy remembers 1978. The one in Texas was pretty much an anomaly for the Mid-South. But 1978 was all up and down the eastern seaboard and well into the middle states. Damon, how y'all doing? So yeah, 1978, I can remember drifts of 4 feet. Frozen roads. I was outside quite a bit today, getting ready. So in the areas that you're at, what are you expecting for this nature storm? Trump has returned from Davos. He has a framework for an agreement on the green deal on Greenland. He also has the Board of Peace approved. And he put out a truth saying, what's the deal with this global warming, you lefty lunatics? Now, I've got in my title, The Age of Deceit, the Age of Deception, because people have talked about, well, what are we going to call this age that we're living in? And, a lot of people called it the dumb ages instead of the dark ages. And when you think about the issues that we've been coping with as a rational civilization, how people have lost their minds over some key elements, one of them being global warming, the global warming hoax, okay? Now we're seeing the falling away, the great falling away from the word, manifested by so many children that we've lost. And you all know what I'm talking about. And also this transgenderism insanity. So you got that, global warming, and those are the two biggest hoaxes that we're dealing with. And stolen land. We could write them down because somebody's writing them down. Hi, Sherry. Nice to see you. Sparky. Nice to see you. Gary, what do you want to be, chairman of the board or the mayor? What's the title you want to have? I was looking at the chats a couple of broadcasts ago. Who said it? I call him mayor. I think it was Todd. I don't want to put words in anybody's mouth. Hi, Pappy. Let's see. I'm thinking this storm may have been modified to produce as much disruption as possible. Maybe feelers are feeling your spidey sense. Elva, nice to see you. No title, Gary says. Oh, or like George Washington, he said that himself. No, Your Excellency. No, His Highness. No, nothing. Just Mr. President. So George Washington didn't want any titles either. Yeah, Pappy. Clandestine put up something similar to that. Not that it was a rumination, that it was I'll call it an exacerbated event. By exacerbated, I mean HARP, right? And again, I'm using words that, believe it or not, was flagged by YouTube. But I don't know if they're flagged now, but everybody's heard of HARP now. And it's strange that this type of a 50-year event, excuse me while I was sipping my coffee. Boy, that was good. I'm sorry I didn't play an intro video to give everybody time to get their favorite libation or coffee or whatever they want to have. But Like I said, I had a hard time getting up. Could it be that the effects of the storm are interfering with satellites? Maybe, I don't know. As to why my email wouldn't be recognized by StreamYard, I'd have been up 20 minutes earlier if it weren't for that. I was going to go up on StreamYard. How many Debbies do we got now in the chats? All Debbies, I say hi. Did I miss anybody? It is odd that we have this, as Karl Marx put in his letter to Abraham Lincoln in 1865, this titanic struggle that we're dealing with. Donald Trump representing America versus the old world order, formerly known as the New World Order. And it's virtually simultaneous that we have this disruption. Hi, Joshua. How you doing? Mac, nice to see you. I saw on, I have to see how to get on this platform, how to get to my notes without dropping off my stream. I hate that. Where NBC did a puff piece on Jack Smith. And of course your blood runs hot when the mainstream media does a puff piece on a criminal like Jack Smith. The reason I put is MAGA going to have to pay a price is because of people like Jack Smith and the people behind him, the puppet masters behind him. They will come after everybody that's MAGA. They're doing it now. It's just not as blatant as it was during the Biden administration. So, yeah, they're going to come after us. They're going to come after ICE agents. They're going to, if they get a chance at it. So this is our final chance to crush this insanity that we've been dealing with. Hi, Tammy. Nice to see you. Or they're gonna crush us. I must confess that I blew my cork today at an individual who used the N-word and as an AZI, if you get my drift. And also made a disparaging remark about ICE agents. And I just had enough of that crap. And blew my cork, Not bad, but I usually don't talk to people in strong terms with a stern face. And but I did. And I don't want to lose friends. But I'm tired of hearing that. It's so asinine. And many of you have been with me for a long time know that I've told stories about my mother and my family in Germany during World War II. And the idiocy of comparing what's going on with that is more than I care to stomach anymore. I saw a video, which I uploaded, and I get things straightened out, and hopefully I'll get things straightened out where I could show videos of a liberal harpy, a white woman, yeah. I have to blow my nose. I've been outside, and the cold was creeping up. I was prepping for stuff coming. Excuse me while I honk my horn. Hang on, I gotta cut my mic off. Yeah, anyway. I saw this woman coming up with 2 or 3 carts full of stuff in a Target, and she blocked the aisle, came to the register, and there's a young lady working the register, and she says, I'm not buying anything. I'm just here I have something to announce. And she takes a piece of paper and blocks the aisle with items. She wandered around the store and filled up these carts with no intention of buying anything, and then blocked the aisle and then started reading a piece of paper about how terrible this country is, and everybody in Target ought to leave and boycott Target, including the employees. And boy, I'm telling you, if I'd have been in that line, as many of you know that I have difficulty sometimes ambulating or standing for long periods, I'd have blown my bowels. It'd been way worse than what happened today. And called her everything but a Christian. I mean, and I would have used words you all have never heard me use. And these people need to start hearing stuff like that. She's a nauseating, old, dried up, harpy, arrogant white woman. And hey, what are you doing? That's not protesting. That is interfering with materially interfering with Target's ability to conduct business. That's not peaceable assembly. You're inconveniencing other people in the store. And people like that ought to be arrested. And we need to start seeing this, I get what J.D. Vance did yesterday. He went to Minnesota and he talked sense, whether they wanted to hear it or not. And the people that can hear sensible speech and respond like a civilized human being, fine. The ones that can't, they need to sit in jail for what I would call a rather petty compared to other protests. But something like this should get you 30 days, cooling your heels. The young lady behind the register, do you think she wants to be there? That she wants to be standing at that register with sore feet, ringing up stuff on a stand there and listen to that old itch, okay? Ramble off about her crap. No, the young lady is working for a living and trying to pay her damn bills. So, you have people, excuse my bluntness, but politically urinating on innocent people to try to make themselves a star. They need to be put in their place. And they need to understand what the Constitution says about the right of peaceable assembly. Hi, Darla. Well, who else am I missing? Holy cow. Sissy's here. Let's see. Darla's here. Who'd I miss? Yeah, just disrupting. So anyway, my patience is not what it used to be, but I have to be careful not to act like a savage myself. But you have to have in your mind responses that are firm and accurate. Okay, where you've heard enough. You don't want to hear it anymore. What was the latest one? One of the latest lies is about a 5-year-old getting arrested. And here you have major news agencies putting up a picture of this 5-year-old. Wait a minute. What happened to protecting minors, from public scrutiny? Whatever happened to that? J.D. Vance knew about it, and J.D. Vance set the record straight. The father took off running and left the 5-year-old standing there. What were the ICE agents supposed to do? Just have the kid wander off down the street? He abandoned his child because he was a fugitive from justice. And J.D. Vance said it straight. But they continue. I saw in my notifications, update on the 5-year-old arrested by ICE. Jacob Frey claims ICE agents are racially profiling. I got screenshots of them, those nuisance notices that come up on my phone, all part of this Operation Mockingbird media. That's right. I don't get out in public much. But every now and then, I will blow my bowels, so to speak, blow my intellectual bowels on the offenders, and Coot, who all of a sudden just blows a cork. People tend to take notice of that, but you got to be careful. You don't want to play their game, but then again, it's important to organize your thoughts. J.D. Vance set a good example of how to refute in a firm, authoritative, and approachable manner. He didn't seem hostile. He didn't say a lot of things he could have said. And he was familiar with the games they were getting ready to play. And he had a cogent response. And, that's the best way to do it. So I feel I had a cogent response for this individual that alluded to Yahtzees and ICE agents today. Okay, because we're still on speaking terms, but that comparison is not allowed around me because it's hyperbolic and it's false. And I was able to get it across without, you don't want to make enemies. We can't function in a society full of where everybody's an enemy. But we do have to get rid of a lot of people. MS Motorsports, hi, buddy. Nice to see you. So, Melvita, nice to see you. Yeah, everybody who's going to have this bad weather. Oh, I had to make sure I had enough food. And, I had to make sure little Sadie had a... I shouldn't talk about Sadie's private business. But I did have to make sure she had a fresh litter box, because I don't want her stuck in a house for 10 days with snow and ice outside and not having a place to take care of her necessaries. I'll put it that way. So that was one of many things that I did, among making sure I had plenty of fresh water and plenty of food and plenty of backup fuel and plenty of dry firewood available indoors for a week. So, and what was outside covered. So that, did you ever try to get a hunk of wood that is covered in ice off the ground? I have. Sledgehammer. But anyway, you find a way when it gets cold enough. But the trick is not to find yourself in that position. So also drain the water down. And that way I don't have to worry about frozen pipes. if the power goes out. And there's a corner of the house that doesn't get enough heat from the stove. I won't have frozen pipes because I can go a few days without water till the bad weather goes. The main problem is going to be power lines coming down from the falling weather if you lose your power. And, I talked to a fellow who said, oh, well, my power line doesn't have any trees around it, so I'm not worried. Well, 2 miles down the road, somebody will whop into a telephone pole and knock out a transformer that will affect your power line 2 miles away. And you can't control that. So you have to assume that power will go out more likely than not in this type of weather. And, we have a helpless generation. A helpless generation. I'll tell you a funny situation. I was watching some of these younger analyzing how they think, what their attitudes are, what their opinions are. And for some reason, well, it's not some reason, garden grub came into my head. Did you ever dig in a garden or plant tulips or anything like that? And every now and then, a grub will pop up out of the ground. And it's blind, it's pale, it curls, it can't move, it can't function on top of the ground. It's got no idea what the hell just happened to it. And it's outside in the big world all of a sudden. From being down in its dark little damp place in the ground. And God bless them, I don't mean all of them, but a lot of these kids, by kids I mean anybody below 40, that grew up in this basement computer gaming, internet interaction lifestyle. You can tell they never drove a nail. You can tell they never broke a sweat. If the power cut out, the water didn't come out of the spigot, they wouldn't know how to get food, how to do anything. And they're kind of like coming out of their basement or whatever. They're kind of like a garden grub. And that just, doesn't know what to do if it ever had to be out in the sun. And, I said, well, I don't know why I'm thinking about that. So yesterday I was, I was outside rooting around, getting some stuff together. And I picked up a board that had been laying there for a while. And what was laying under there? I took a picture of it in case y'all don't believe me. I might put it on one of my streams. It was a big fat garden grub laying right there in the dirt underneath the board. And I felt bad for it because it was going to drop down to like 8 degrees that night, but what am I going to do, I put them underneath something else or whatever it is. Anyway, maybe it's transgender grub. I don't know. So anyway, and I haven't seen one in I don't know how long. I haven't seen a garden grub. What am I talking about? What got me on this? But anyway, it is odd that I had this notion of comparing generations. What did we have growing up? We had creeks, like you see on the screen. We had grass under your feet. We had bikes you could ride for hours. Remember? I mean, you get on that banana seat and roll. You go down to the store, keep an eye on the street lights, get home in time. And try to cover that kind of ground a day on a bike. Just gobs of energy, and finding out about the world, about each other, about people on the next neighborhood, real life. You know what the face of the person you were talking to looked like because they're standing right in front of you. We've been over it before, no caller ID. The phone rang, and if you answered it, you answered it. If you didn't, they didn't. If it was important, they'll call back. Now what is it? Instantaneous communication. So anyway, maybe we'll never go back to that time where kids were kids the way we understand being a child. Maybe this is the future where people's brains will be influenced by AI and interpersonal relationships will be talking into a screen for years. I mean years, months and years of day after day talking to a screen. The only reason I do it is so we can reach out to each other and know we're not alone as we exit this age of deception. I guarantee you 90% of the people in the chats knew from day one that global warming was a big bunch of crap. A big hoax. 90%. And there's 10% who, probably said, oh, gee, wow, maybe the world will overheat and the oceans will rise. But once you see the evidence, you're quick to say, no, that's not going to happen. So anyway, no tin cans on a string. Snow days. Well, the shock for me, growing up in an age where you had 3 channels, the shock for me is these young people using the kind of language, being exposed to things that, my God, if you showed a kid the stuff that's flying around the internet every day, any time of the day on household platforms like YouTube, you could have gone to jail. But now it's nothing but a thing. It's just the way it is. You talk to a 12-year-old and they're talking to you with a mouth that's filthy as any sailor you ever met. No even concept of having respect for somebody older than you. That video I played, the young man who was talking about Don Lemon going into a black church. He said just what I said. I don't know how many of you remember, but about 6 months ago, I was talking about the aunties. The aunties. I said the neighborhoods where you have your aunties with a pillbox purse. It upside your head, you know something inside of it. You don't want to get the aunties mad. Remember me saying that? The Aunt Esther's. And that's what he brought up. He brought up respect. He brought up, I was afraid to even have my cell phone on in church. Do you think that they would use that kind of language? Somebody who was raised in a culture with God-fearing aunties would ever think to talk the way it's just everyday talk. You can't walk through a store without hearing the F word out of the employees, just as typical conversation. So that was the biggest shock for me because I never used to go on the internet. But when I saw all the, and I was there too. I was on the edge of my chair. I was listening with bated breath about, there's no way that Joe Biden would set foot in the White House. The military will arrest him and this cabal. I remember that before Joe Biden took the oath of office. And all the people that were benefiting with clickbait stuff, that's when I decided to start broadcasting. To be taken to those heights of stress and then to be crushed over and over and over again. And then I started to realize that I'm not the first one or the only one to understand that that is damaging to people's psyche. A nation as a whole, you can damage a nation's psyche. And that's why I decided to be part of the digital warrior movement and let people know that this is going to be a process. It's going to be drawn out. And we've got to watch for signs. We got to be able to comprehend what's going on because the evil ones knew that they could damage a nation's psyche also, but damage it in a way that serves their purpose, which is to have people live in fear and ignorance and helplessness. Even in my current situation, this storm coming, I'm not afraid because I know what I'll do if the power goes out. I know what to do to make sure I don't freeze to death. Can the garden grubs do that? Can the garden grubs do that? They would blow their bowels, lose their bowels, if their internet got cut off. People like that, when something bad happens, fear comes out. Helplessness exacerbates fear. You don't know what to do. So the cabal has had over a century to be able to use media to create narratives that create fear, make people feel helpless so they can capitalize on it politically and be the saviors while they're picking your pocket. They're the silent thieves. And what do they want? They want to seize the methods of production. What's the methods of production? Human effort. Nothing would happen if it wasn't for somebody getting their ass out of bed and moving their arms and legs. Trump posted a graph about the value of the dollar. How much value do you think the dollar lost under Joe Biden's term? Let me ask the chats. And no goggling. You know, if you know, you know. If you don't, you don't. Hi, Melvita. Watch that word. Manipulation, I think you're saying, not mutilation, because that's a word not allowed, right? How much value do you think the dollar lost just under the Biden administration? When I went on my tirade this morning, my controlled tirade, my adult tirade, I didn't go into juvenile screaming and yelling, jumping from subject to subject. But I did say that Obama needs to arrange for exile, refugee status in Kenya. There you go, Pappy Two Bears. Do you remember me in my early broadcasts? I discussed, and I believe they survived on media events that heralded Operation Mockingbird. One of them was Orson Welles' broadcast of War of the Worlds, and the second one was the stop-motion animation of King Kong. King Kong. I'll talk about it a little bit more, but how many of you remember me discussing that years ago, about 4 years ago? Silver hit 103. Randy said, wow. Well, I got some silver left. Rain's guessing 35%. Todd said 22%. Sissy said 70%. Miss Minister 69. Under Biden, during the 4 years of the Biden administration, it went down 25%. That means if you were walking around with 4 quarters in your pocket, $1, somebody came and took one of your quarters right out of your pocket. That's what I'm saying about inflation. That's what I'm saying about currency being devalued. That's where the silent thieves come in. They can take an invisible hand and reach in your pocket and take your quarter and leave you with 75 cents. Yes, Sissy, if you take the dollar's worth about 3 cents compared to what it was worth prior to the 16th Amendment being passed 110 years ago or 109 years ago, it has lost a lot of its value. It's still a loaf of bread is a loaf of bread. And it used to be a dime, now it's $2.50, $3, $3.50 for a loaf of flipping bread. The bread's the same. The dollar's been devalued. Hi, Sherry. Yeah, and the money in your bank account. If they take it out of your bank account by devaluing the currency. So, anyway, when Orson Welles did War of the Worlds, no images for people to watch, just listening to the radio, much like you're listening to my broadcast right now. And people didn't know it was a story by H.G. Wells. You had people committing they thought the Martians were coming. You had people breaking into stores to get supplies and stealing gas and all kinds of stuff. It was rampant. They had to send out authorities to quell the response by the people who were terrified. And then you had King Kong, which we watch it today compared to the special effects of old, which I say from 1978, Star Wars was a breakthrough in special effects, till the advent of AI in recent years, that period of time, if you did King Kong, can compare it to the 1933 or 32 version or whatever year it was, it would look like a joke. But back then, people were coming out of the theater fainting in the streets. So they knew then the power of media. So we have to inculcate the power of the media to not spread fear, hoaxes, clickbait, and to spread the truth. And that is my intent. And hopefully it'll take root and spread around. Somebody with a higher degree of tech savvy, a more articulate speaker, a more attractive individual to the public can hear what I say, take what I say. But as I said, we're in the age of the garden grub. Which is that what's going to carry our legacy forward? A bunch of garden grubs that don't have a grasp of reality. It's coming to them to certain degrees. And I think we're just going to have to accept the fact that we have a cruder and more ignorant society, which we can work with that. But we have to get rid of two things. The stupid people, the low IQ people, the fanatics, okay, and the evil people. Stupid fanatics like the woman at the Target grocery store, and the evil people that manipulate the media to get their mind in that kind of state. You know, I was looking at some of the graphs that Trump put out and stuff. And I was also thinking about earlier elections and how things went back in the day. You know, most of our generation can really look at the Reagan revolution as the nearest thing to what we're seeing today, even though he didn't get to accomplish near what he would have ideally liked to. He wanted to get the ball rolling, and he did get the ball rolling. But what did the deep state do to stop the ball from rolling? They made sure they planted a cabal member, high-ranking cabal member, George Bush Sr. First one to say a new world order. First president to use those words. 1,000 points of light. Remember that? A new world order. So anyway, and I remembered that when Reagan ran, and I've talked about this before, Reagan was blue. Blue states were conservative. Blue states were conservative, and red states were for Jimmy Carter. Blue was Reagan, red was Jimmy Carter. I remember Jimmy Carter's bumper stickers that they had back in the day during their race against 1980 race against Reagan. They were red bumper stickers in white letters. It said Carter. Reagan's were dark blue and white letters saying Reagan, Bush. I still got some from 1980. And the media would do the map of the country. And who was that reporter? Oh gosh, I can see his face. Starts with a B. Brinkley. David Brinkley. David Brinkley came on and he said, "What I see is a sea of blue." A sea of blue. And because Reagan tromped Carter. He tromped him. I don't know how many states he won the first time, but it was a vast majority. It was a sea of blue, except for the New England states. And the next election, 1984, the media switched the colors. They made Reagan red. And who do you run against the second time? Mondale. And they made Mondale blue. And I remember listening to a podcaster who used to work for CNN. And she was recalling, I'll think of her name in a minute, but she's talked about, stuff like lizard people and stuff like that. But anyway, she said she remembered when the new CNN executive came on board and said, I just want to think blue, blue, blue. To change the brand of the Democrat. That came from somewhere. This changing colors. And a lot of you who may live in cities know what it means to take, for one gang to use or try to take another gang's colors. I'm just saying. Even in the olden days, they would say, strike your colors, during wartime. So my point that I'm making, we need another change. You all didn't like the red that Jimmy Carter picked. You claimed that you put red on Reagan because Reagan starts with an R and red starts with an R. I'm not kidding you. That's exactly what their rationale was. So we decided to make Reagan states red because of the R in the name. Well, what was Mondale? Start with a B? Bombdale? So it made no sense, but how they manipulate the way people think. So you know what? Y'all want the blue, keep the blue. I think we ought to have a referendum. And from now on, MAGA colors or the Republicans of this idea. And should we push for it? What color do you think I want MAGA to be on the map from now on? Just take a wild guess. Take a wild guess and I'll tell you what I think our colors should be. And I think it would be warmly received by the heads of the Republican Party and the great and powerful, as Andrew Branco refers to him, the great and powerful Donald J. Trump. What color would you like to see? Well, Graybeard, how you doing, Graybeard? Red, white, blue is a good idea, but, some of those states are awful tiny. I'll refer multiple colors. Maybe the Democrats could have the rainbow flag. Okay? But no, I think we should have one color. What is your guess, chats? Sparky. Sparky's plugged in. Gold. It should be gold, period. Because we're entering a golden age. And, hey, we could tell the Democrats, oh, it's really orange since you hate Orange Man so bad. But no, it should be gold. From here to the end of time. And they can pick whatever flipping color they want. They can pick teal, mauve, pink, whatever you want. But we're going with gold. And the media should not pick like they did in the 1980s and steal our colors. Because I have shown hard to find pictures of the electoral map from Reagan's first victory. And it confuses people. They go, wait a minute, I thought Reagan won. He did win. But we were blue back then. Watch videos. You can watch videos of election night 1980, and you'll see that the map for the Republicans was blue. So that is the power of the media and how insidious they are in thinking, no, sissy, we don't want Tiffany blue. We want gold. We want gold. And no, we don't want multiple colors. We want one color. We are the gold standard. Bruce, how you doing? And you can either be a golden state or you can be whatever puked out color the damn Democrats choose. And, red is they studied it. Red denotes anger. It's a harsh color. Look on your screen. You got that is my self-portrait, by the way. I actually drew that. And maybe I'll have in the future where the mouth will actually move while I'm talking. We shall see. But, I got my corncob pipe. I got my little bottle of hooch and my blunderbuss. All right. And a flower. So anyway, and I do have blue eyes. But anyway, it shows you the power of the media. Red is a harsh color. Blue is soothing to the eye. Green is the most soothing color in the spectrum. Did you know that? Why is green the most soothing color? Of grass and trees. They're green. It denotes life. It denotes the outdoors. It denotes springtime. It denotes a collective memory of nature. Yeah, no funky colors. We needed one color. We're going to go with gold. We're going to have a golden America. Ha, that's right, Felix. How you doing, Felix? Burl Lives. Silver and gold. I was thinking of a song he sang the other night. Burl Lives. What's that song I was thinking of? He would sing it you'd play it every winter, every Christmas. Silver and gold, and there was another one he would sing. I can't remember it now. Couldn't get it out of my head, but now I can't remember it. Ha ha ha! Green is the healing color. Green stands for money, too, but, it's the first thing that the liberals would say. Oh, they just want money, a bunch of money grubbers. So anyway. Going into the weekend, we got all these things to consider about they didn't arrest Don Lemon today. Maybe they're arresting him right now. I don't know. But they had a judge throw out their first warrant. And it seems daunting when you step back and look at how many of these judges are so corrupted and so out of touch. How the hell are we going to change all that? You know, it seems daunting, but we are identifying them and we're getting them on the record. Anybody going to tell me that we can watch Don Lemon? This is just what we've seen with our own eyes. Talk about working with this group to create trauma inside a church. And that is something he's not going to get charged with. What else do you think they're going to have about communications between Don Lemon and these agitators that conspired to disrupt church services? Which is felonious. Felonious. We're getting them on record. And I was so busy. I was outside today, and I was so busy trying to prepare because I don't know what your all situation is. But I'm looking at possibly a dozen days, 10 days, maybe more, of never seeing any temperatures above freezing. I'm looking at being in situations where negative 14 degrees. Now, our friends in Canada, that's north of us, and that's the proper pronunciation, Canada. They're used to dealing with stuff like that. And, but no, it doesn't happen to us very much at all. But now we're having it coming on. Are you all looking at that kind of situation? Yeah, Randy, Trump has moved a carrier group with Abraham Lincoln, of the Abraham Lincoln aircraft carrier. But right now it is within striking distance of Iran. And Laura Logan is doing an interview with someone who's discussing Iran's operations in Venezuela. Potentially the 51st state, don't you know? And there was a secret operation. Well, it wasn't necessarily secret, but the media has not covered it. Where U.S. forces, before the invasion of Venezuela, seized a cargo ship with undisclosed contents. Do you know the name of the cargo ship that got seized? And something makes sense now that didn't make sense that happened. And it was a word that we discussed. And the ship had the same word, the same name as that word that we all were like, why is that word being used? And the scuttlebutt is that they were moving uranium into Venezuela on top of what I discussed about them launching operations against Americans
on American soil, launching operations for kidnappings and assassinations from Venezuela. The Iranians have had, and I'm sure they have the remnants of a cabal, a cartel operating in Venezuela. And the cargo ship could have had contents on there of a nuclear nature. Renegade's a good guess, Brush. But they didn't report on it, and Trump truthed out the word, and without comment. And we were all wondering. And I told you all that the translation of it, from Tolkien's Lord of the Rings, but also what it meant in Italian culture and many other European cultures. Means beautiful or nice. And in Tolkien's translation, in Elven was friend. But actually in Italy it means pretty or beautiful. Bella. And Trump truthed that word out. Everybody went, what's that mean? Nobody ever asked about it. We were talking about it. And that is the name of the cargo ship that was seized some months ago that had a very dangerous cargo. So, Bella, yeah, that's right. So there's a great many things happening. We had Zelensky getting into a little headbutting session. I'll go over. He made a speech, but it looks as if he wants that $800 billion that is being offered to help with their military defense, supposedly, and reconstruction of Ukraine, that they're going to have to give up some land in the Donbass, or they're just going to have to wing it. Okay? They can get their money from, they can go to Italy, they can go to France. Well, Italy don't want to screw them. France wants to keep making. Called out Macron about his sunglasses. That's another thing I wanted to discuss. But when I get into reading stories and playing videos, some of the notions that come in my head, I don't get to them. But I found it very odd. Did you all see Macron when he said, I have my sunglasses on, and he said something, to the effect of, you don't like it, tough, or don't make fun of me, or something like that. Remember? And he was wearing these, they were more of a covering of the eyes than when Joe Biden wore his aviators. Very suspicious looking. What do you all make of that? And Trump made a point of, I guess you could say, mocking him because he was wearing the sunglasses. He kind of thought it was funny. And the crowd laughed. What do you make of those sunglasses? Blue cause of glaucoma. I don't know if they're blue or... Well, Graybeard, we're not going to pay. They're going to... Trump already said the money we give them is going to Earth or they're going to pay it back. They ain't going to be giving it away. Well, you know what I thought of about those sunglasses? Before Trump said anything, before anybody said anything, I said to myself, I wonder if he became a member of the Black Eye Club. And he's hiding it. Did any of you all think of that? Most of you are familiar with the Black Eye Club. And we've seen pictures of even Chief Justice Roberts with a black eye. We saw George Bush with a black eye. We saw John McStain. We don't say his name. Hi, Jerry. We saw a lot of people. Who have you all seen in the Black Eye Club? Miss Menderson thought about it. Who else have you all seen in the Black Eye Club? Carrie, that's right. I mentioned three prominent names: John Roberts, George Bush Jr., John Graybeard mentioned John Kerry, Mitch McConnell. Who else was members? I might have to goggle that. Well, anyway, I was musing some time ago. You know, what would get you a black eye? A lot of people said, Jay Leno got half his face. He had a car blow. He has face down near a car. That's documented what happened to him. He had people with him, and it was an accident. Well, I believe a steam powered vehicle. And man, that's a lot of pressure. And he's lucky he didn't get severely hurt. He hurt his whole face. This wasn't just a punch in the eye. But anyway, everybody was saying that, I'm talking 10 years ago. People would say, you've been initiated into the club. That's part of being part of the club. And I said, well, that doesn't make any damn sense. A black eye is punishment. Somebody come up and whop you in the eye. So I postulated about 6 months ago, 3 months ago maybe. I said, wouldn't it be something if, because many of us know that a lot of these people have been addressed, if you all know what I mean. And a lot of them have been told to walk the chalk and to be an actor in a play. And I said, wouldn't it be something if Trump was the one handing out the black eyes? It was just a musing on my part. And part of a humiliation, submission ritual. Because not long after John McStain got his black eye, he exited the earth. But anyway, maybe Macron got it. I don't know who gave him a black, even if he had a black eye, but I wouldn't be surprised. Saw behind those glasses that he had a black eye. And it wouldn't surprise me if it was symbolic of something. And when I look at the names of the people who have gotten them, they're also getting straightened out. Just like George Bush got straightened out when he read that piece of paper at the funeral of his father. Just like John McStain got straightened out. Okay? A lot straighter than his flag was on top of his coffin. And John Kerry's walking the chalk. A lot of them are walking the chalk, and I think you're going to see Macron starting to walk the chalk. Because the things they've done and are still trying to do, if I were in Donald Trump's shoes and they wanted to do like Bob Mueller and spend the rest of their days in an incarcerated state rather than suffer the fate they really should suffer, I gotta pop you in the eye first, and then we'll talk about you getting off the hook. With McStain, I think it was, well, you'll keep a legacy, but you'll lose everything else. Harry Reid, very good, Jerry. That's right. I couldn't remember Harry Reid. He's a member of the Black Eye Club. So I was just musing that maybe it's part of what Trump is saying, to show they've been conquered and to actually feel some kind of physical discomfort and visible shame. And then they play ball. Watch for Macron, who had been, prior to wearing sunglasses, agitating to put troops in Ukraine, French troops, actively resisting peace proposals by Trump, and being a general pain in the rear end. So here, just before Davos, he's got to wear sunglasses, and they're going to be part of the Board of Peace, and it looks like they're forging Ukraine right now as we speak. Germany gave formal notice that they're not going to be on the Board of Peace. So maybe somebody over there needs to wear a pair of sunglasses for a little bit. I don't know. Angela is no longer in the picture. So I don't know who they'd be dealing with there. Dad was a pushover. Well, not my dad. Well, I don't know. I'm just musing about Trump doing. Somebody's handing out black eyes. And you know what? You ain't going to see Trump walking around with no damn black eye. You ain't going to see Barron walking around. Or Trump Jr., Donald Jr., or Eric. You're not going to see Marco Rubio with one. Scott Bessent. Stephen Miller. Jack Smith's going to end up with one. Jack Smith should be incarcerated right now. I was going to put that on my thumbnail. Jack Smith should be in jail right now. A lot of them should be in jail. We all know that. Yeah, Sissy, the Red Shoe Club. I'll talk about that in a future broadcast. Um, yeah, don't get into a lot of uh, well, I don't know. The Black Eye Club is the Black Eye Club. So anyway, um, it looks like there's going to be some kind of peace agreement. Things have got to accelerate. Things have got to be settled over in Ukraine. I was watching some maps that were being posted about Russian advances in Donbass. They're either going to have to agree on paper to give up certain territories, or it is going to be de facto lost anyway because the Russians are advancing and taking territory. Half of Kiev has no power in the dead of freaking winter. That's one of the things Zelensky said. He asked, we have the president of Venezuela in handcuffs. How come we don't have Putin in handcuffs? You know what? It's an idiotic statement. We all know why. The big difference between Venezuela and Russia. So anyway, things have got to accelerate to a close on the world stage, and it appears to be that's what has happened. Clandestine had an interesting point somebody else brought up early in the chats about this storm. Whether they exacerbated it or not, it is going to be too damn treacherous and cold for street level insurrectionists to go out and protest. It would be good cover. I'm just saying, for something big to happen as far as arrests go. There was a guy arrested yesterday, and I got a video of him being taken off of a plane by the FBI. He was on the 10 most wanted list. I can't think of his name off the top of my head. I don't want to go to my notes because I don't want the stream to drop off. But he was a pretty well-known person. And he was arrested, and they perp walked him in handcuffs, getting off the plane. And Kash Patel made a comment about him getting arrested. And I think what we're going to see civilian arrests of high-profile people first. And that is going to desensitize people to seeing famous people and political, like governors, mayors, members of the House of Representatives being handcuffed. So this would be a good time if the general population is ready for it. But I don't know how much is ready for it. I know that we have roughly 25%, maybe, say 20 to 30% window. I have a 10% window of people that are victims, psychologically damaged individuals that cannot see what's right in front of their face because of the illegal psychological warfare campaign that's been going on for over a decade in high gear. In high gear. I was talking to somebody today, and I said something about Obama. They said, well, what's he got to do with any of this? With any of it. Obama ushered in this transgender insanity that we've exposed millions. That's just one of the things. I had a video clip, many of you have seen it, where he said, we're going to cause the expenses to go so high for coal-powered power plants, which is the predominant way to get energy around the world. We're going to make it so expensive they can't help but close their plants down. He was driving us to a state of vulnerability and increase the scarcity of energy. And like Trump said, energy is the key. Energy is everything. Once fuel costs go down, energy costs go down, everything else is going to go down. He was trying to drive this country into dependency and bankruptcy for his ideological wants. So Obama's got everything to do with it. He's the founder, in my opinion, of the Somali diaspora, as they say. He's the one that planted the flags for these enclaves to be formed by the Somalians and the Haitians. And of course, the flag was already planted. He just waved it a lot harder, and that's for the Latin American countries that were pouring in. Trump put out a interesting truth that said, NATO Article 5, I think he said, maybe we ought to test NATO by their promise to defend other members of NATO from invasion. How about you all pay for the troops on the border, NATO? And that'll free up our border patrol to, as he said, other things. What other things? Getting the ones who've infiltrated the country the hell out. And NATO, you can pay the price of making sure the border's secured, just like the treaty says. That would be interesting. You don't send troops, you foot the bill. How about that? You send a few squads down that'll be underneath our command, and you stand out there in the flippin' desert with binoculars. And you pay for it. That's right, Randy. The Muslims. Yeah, he's a Muslim. Oh, yeah. Universal health care, taking a third of our economy and turning it into a communist system. Why the hell do I want to go? Why should I be forced into a system where they tell me, the doctor I go to, the doctor may or may not believe in transgenderism or believe that I should have these certain things squirted into my life stream. I don't want people like that knowing anything about me or making any decisions or recommendations about me. I don't want lunatics involved in my health care. But we can thank Barack Hussein Obama. Have you heard of him? Yeah, how about if they just say, we've got a pandemic of illegal aliens, and we're going to handle individual rights the same way you treated us and our individual rights. Tim Walsh saying turn down the temperature. He put out another statement about J.D. Vance. We should all work together to have the federal government work with our local law enforcement and remove agents from the streets. Go to hell, Tim Walsh. You're the one that was shooting paintballs at people to make them run them off their own damn porches and threatening people with arrests if they didn't quarantine themselves or whatever the hell you were putting out there. One of the toughest states in the union for taking away rights over a fraudulently exaggerated pandemic. So, yeah. Remigration is a beautiful thing, Graybeard. So we've got all these things that I've just mentioned that seems daunting to reverse. I mean, once you get infested with communists into a system that they've taken total control over healthcare, and when the government pays for everything, when they are the ones that cut the checks for everything, it turns into a hog trough. Aspirin goes from a nickel a piece to $50 a piece. I'd say a little heavy, but that's, close enough for what happens. People charge exorbitant and say, oh, the government's paying for it? Oh, okay. IQ tests instead of people vote. Maybe we should have national IQ tests for people to vote. Never mind about the color, never vote. Of course, people of color can vote. But can you think? Have you got any brains in your head? And if you don't have brains, listen, we don't let people in nut houses vote. We don't let people who are suffering from dementia vote. So why should we let people who have IQs below the level of retardation vote? By the way, I put a link for Buy Me a Coffee in the chats at the 132 mark. If anybody wants to help support the channel. And I want to thank Colette and Todd this week for starting off the week. And Mike and Bev always helps me out. I want to give them a shout out too. I hope your eye's doing better. I hope everything's doing better. I hope all of you all are prepared for what's going on. But anyway, I have a link in the description. There's been no commercial interruptions because this is a totally viewer-supported channel. And I appreciate everybody that's helped out with Buy Me a Coffee. And I make sure I give shout-outs, unlike when I missed when Younger Gang came in and helped out with Buy Me a Coffee, and I didn't see the notification. So I'll give an extra one out. But this is the last week of the month already. And we'll see how we finish out the month. A common sense test. Yeah, that's a good one, Sparky. We have to do something. But I think if we start with, you got to be a citizen. You got to be a United States citizen. So anyway, we got to do an analysis of all these people that have been granted citizenship within the last 10 years. and we have to take a look at their record. And a great number of them have to have their citizenship removed, stripped, and they need to be deported. So, yeah, I hate to say it that way, but I am saying it that way. We got people that are fraudulent citizens. Fraudulent citizens. They were brought here and fast-tracked by people who did not have our good in mind. And given citizenship, granted citizenship by people who were behaving in a criminal manner. People that did not live up to their application, words they put in their application. They did not try to make sure that they would be that they understood the Constitution and would support the Constitution. They weren't truthful about that. We've got a bunch of welfare bums and Marxists that have been granted citizenship by people with criminal, traitorous intent. And people in that category that got citizenship need to have that citizenship stripped, and they need to be removed. All right, folks. That's a heck of a way to end the broadcast. But the other thing that's being worked on that is paramount is our education system. We need to clean out these radicals out of the education system. Anybody saying teaching children that this country is racist and on stolen land need to be removed from the classroom. Like Trump said, we need people that love our country teaching our children. Okay, folks? So anyway, I hope you all get through this weather that's coming. I hope you all have prepared for it. I look forward to seeing you all in a future broadcast. And I hope you have a great night. I want to thank you for spending your precious folks. I hope you had a good time tonight. Let's hope we see some big arrests during this cold weather. And if they want to protest, boy, they got to be dedicated because they're going to freeze their rear ends off. So anyway, folks, you all have a great night. I'll be seeing you soon. This is Mountain Man, over and out.